What do you want to be called at work? What name do you want to go by? For most people, this seems like it should be a fairly simple question, and for most people, it probably is, but it's not for everybody. Today, we can find ourselves working in all kinds of different environments with all kinds of different people. More so than any other point in human history, we are more connected and more integrated with people from different places. And this is something, A, that's not going to change, it's only going to increase. But it also provides opportunities for people to learn and also for people that may want to go by their name that they haven't been using for a long time. And there can be other reasons for names that people select, but a common one can be a person that adopted a local name because it was easier, there was less friction, people could remember it more, and they really want to go by their given name. It's making this change that we're going to talk about today because our name is such a fundamental part of our identity. You know, what we're called by, and if we're not being referred to as a name that we want to be, that can have all kinds of issues. Do we feel welcome? Do we want to be at this place? Am I valued? And the list can go on and on. From a business perspective, it can even lead to retention issues. And there's really no need for do it because it's something that we can address and something that we can fix. This past week, the Wall Street Journal had an article where they talked about this very topic. And the example right off the bat was an ESPN commentator who's gone by Sal, his professional career, at least in the United States. And he wanted to start going by his given name of Salam and he had started doing this in his other media gigs, and now he's doing this with ESPN. This is something that is very important to people. We want to go by the name that we want to be called. And people can be making this change later down the road, like this gentleman is. Maybe it's something that's fairly recent. But the question is, how do we make this transition? And there's a couple of steps, to keep in mind that we're going to go through. The first one is decide what you want to be called and stick to your guns. Don't let someone change your mind, like, oh, this is what you've always gone by, you shouldn't change it. Why would you want a more difficult name to pronounce? Whatever reason, lame or well-being, it could be. Stick to your guns. You know what you want to be called. The world is more complicated now. It's more sophisticated. It's more complex. And this is part of humanity's growth in my perspective. So stick to your guns of what you want to be called. The second part is we have to help each other. It's not enough to say, I want to go by this new name or name that is new to other people, even though it's my old name. I want to go by this different name. We have to help people make that change because we're really helping them to help us be happy in that situation. Now, one tool that's available is on LinkedIn's profile page, and these are the instructions for it. I'll have the links for this in the Wall Street Journal on the show notes. Sometimes the Wall Street Journal articles are behind a paywall, so you may not be able to get to it. I hope that you can. But you can record how to pronounce your name on your LinkedIn profile. You have to use a mobile app to do this. It's not something you can do on the computer, like on the web page for LinkedIn. You can delete the recording on a computer, but to record it, you have to use the mobile app. You can also edit it, delete it on the mobile app as well. But to make that recording, it has to be on the mobile app. So this is a really powerful tool because most people are on LinkedIn in a professional sense, or an awful lot of us are, and it's something to share with people. I go by Salama, and I recorded it on my LinkedIn page, so you can go there and listen to it, so that you can get practice and understand the name I'd like you to call me. That would really make me happy. And it's important to include that it's important to you, that it's going to help you be happy. And most people want other people to be happy. If we can do something as relatively simple as call someone the name they want to go by, that's a huge win for everybody. There is one hangup with the recording on the LinkedIn profile, and that's that most adults are visual learners. So we can hear it, we can replicate it, we can practice it. How long does it stay? Not as well as when we learn visually. And this is the chance to kind of go old school, go analog. And if you have business cards, this is a great chance to use them. Now, if you've done any of my other training or heard some of my other broadcasts, I'm a real big believer in your business card that you have a blank background or a blank backside, and it's a surface that you can write on. Not glossy, not plasticky, nothing like that, just plain white surface that you can write on. The reason for that is you can make all kinds of notes on the back of your business card and you give to somebody, including the phonetic spelling of your name. So you need to learn how to phonetically write down the pronunciation of your name and then give it to somebody. Oh, you know what? This is I found that this helps people. This is how you can phonetically say my name. I hope this helps you. And even if that person keeps a card for a day, a week, or for months, seeing that is going to help reinforce that. And be sure to also mention that the recording on your LinkedIn profile and having multiple ways to reinforce how to say the name that you want to be called is going to help people. And this is really a huge part of the game. How do we help people get along in a friendlier, more welcoming way? Because our name is a huge part of our identity. It's something that we usually got from our parents. So stick to your guns of what you want to be called and create tools, create situations that you can help people learn that name, and also be supportive, be encouraging. It can be frustrating when someone butchers your name continually, but try and be positive about like, oh man, that's so much better. Thank you. And if you have any like tips for how to say your name, like what it might sound like or something that that person might be familiar with, use that. But be positive because the other person doesn't have to do it unless you have some kind of authority that you can pressure them into doing that. But really, this is something we want for everybody to be happy to get along with. There are other situations in which people may be called names that they don't want to be called, besides it being an uncommon name in the environment that you're working and living in. My full name is Charles. I go by Chad. I had a first grade teacher that called me Charles. It drove me up the wall. I hated it. I had a workplace where people insisted on calling me Chuck, which was my dad's workplace name. That was a very frustrating situation because a lot of them would not change. But usually when I tell people, they will change it. Like they will hear that my name is Charles, usually in some formal, encounter, such as a doctor's office. It's on my medical records. So when I tell them I go by Chad, I've seen them where they write it down on my file so that they have a reminder of what I go by. And that gets back to knowing what you want to be referred as, what name you want people to use, and just reinforcing it. And sometimes it takes more than a couple of times, but if it's something that makes each other happy, let's do that. Let's do that for ourselves, and let's do that for each other.